All right, let's dive right into this explainer and tackle a deeply, deeply frustrating paradox. It's something I guarantee we've all witnessed or even experienced firsthand. And honestly, it completely defies logic. Today, we're decoding the psychology of power. Specifically, we're looking at why the absolute most talented person in the room is rarely the one who rises the fastest. This dynamic can literally make or break your career, so understanding it is absolutely crucial. So I want you to take a second and think about your own life. Have you ever noticed something kind of strange? Picture looking around a classroom and seeing the absolute smartest, most gifted student just completely ignored by the teacher. Or think about a scenario at your workplace where the hardest worker, the person pulling the longest hours, churning out the best work, gets suddenly replaced or passed over for a massive promotion. It really makes you stop and ask, why on earth does this happen? Because logically, right? Logically, raw excellence, the genius student or the relentless worker, should just automatically be rewarded. But then the harsh reality of the real world kicks in. They get ignored, they get replaced, or they just mysteriously lose the support of their mentors. We really want to believe that human beings are driven by pure logic. But the truth? People are heavily, heavily ruled by their ego, their insecurities, their desperate need for status, and frankly, their fear. And that brings us to a really foundational rule of human dynamics. Never outshine the master. Now, when you first hear that, I know exactly what you might be thinking. It sounds kind of manipulative, right? Maybe even incredibly unfair. I mean, shouldn't talent win out? Shouldn't pure excellence be the only thing that matters? Well, in a perfect world, yeah, absolutely. But we don't live in a perfect world. This is actually a vital, vital lesson in the emotional nature of power. You see, the people above you often don't fear your weakness. They fear your potential. Section 1. The psychology of power. The mistake of the brilliant employee. Let's imagine a young, highly ambitious employee joins a company. On paper, this person is doing literally everything perfectly. They're highly intelligent, incredibly creative, and just full of energy. But within weeks, they start eagerly correcting their boss in meetings because, well, they genuinely know a better way to do things. Maybe they've read a few too many posts about disrupting the space. They show everyone these smarter ideas, and naturally, people start giving them public praise. They are the textbook definition of a rising star. Now, logically, the boss should be absolutely thrilled to have a superstar making their whole department look amazing. But psychologically, the reality is entirely different. To a boss with an ego, every single public correction turns into a profound humiliation. Every little compliment that young employee gets feels like a direct, highly personal threat to the boss's authority and status. And this leads us to the fatal mistake. The employee's mistake wasn't having too much talent. No way. Their mistake was accidentally making the power in the room feel insecure. It's just a universal truth. When the ego feels attacked, intelligence completely disappears. Poof. The boss doesn't care about those brilliant ideas anymore. Slowly, those plum opportunities will vanish. The glowing recommendations will stop. And that incredibly talented employee will be left totally bewildered, wondering what went wrong. They never even realized they made their superior feel small. Section 2. The Art of Restraint. Strategy over Ego. Now, let me clear this up right out of the gate because it's a huge misconception. Applying this rule does not mean you have to become weak. It definitely doesn't mean you have to hide your incredible talent in the shadows forever or pretend to be incompetent. What it actually means is developing the emotional intelligence to deeply understand timing and human nature. It's about becoming incredibly strategic with exactly when and exactly how you display your brilliance. Think about it like a smart, professional fighter. They don't just walk out and throw every single knockout punch they have in the first 10 seconds of round one, right? They pace themselves. Just like a master chess player never reveals their entire grand strategy on the first move, true power and true talent must grow quietly and strategically before it becomes highly visible to everyone else. So how do we actually pull this off? Well, here is the exact playbook used by massively successful historical figures who mastered diplomacy long before they ever achieved dominance. Step 1. Observe first. Do not rush in just to show off. Step 2. Understand egos first. Figure out exactly who needs to feel important and respected. And Step 3. Rise carefully. You really have to learn when to speak up, when to just stay silent, and when to let others temporarily take the credit. Because surviving inside any hierarchy requires serious emotional intelligence, not just raw skill. Section 3. The insecure leader, the other side of the coin. We see this stark contrast everywhere. Weak leaders are absolutely terrified of talent. When they spot a rising star, their own insecurity just takes the wheel, and they end up actively destroying capable people. But strong leaders, the truly legendary coaches, the great commanders, the top-tier CEOs, they aren't afraid of strong students. In fact, they view it as their ultimate mission to create them. A genuinely powerful person always builds up the people around them. And that is a very potent reminder for all of us. Ego is one of the biggest destroyers of intelligence. Period. This whole framework isn't just a defensive shield to protect yourself from an insecure boss. It's a mirror. It's a reminder to constantly, relentlessly check your own ego when you finally find yourself in a position of authority. Because history shows us, time and time again, that insecure leadership inevitably collapses in on itself. Section 4. Power in the Modern World, Surviving the Social Media Era.
Now, in the digital age, our deep desire for attention, for status, and for instant validation is vastly amplified. Just look at the landscape of modern content creators. You see people constantly warring for influence, and so many of them fail miserably because they completely ignore this law. They attack egos unnecessarily just to get a few cheap views. They mock and disrespect their peers. They try to dominate every single conversation, desperately needing to be the loudest voice in the room. And most fatally, they mistake arrogance for confidence, completely forgetting that long-term power is built on self-awareness, not just blind dominance.
And here is a really hard truth that a lot of people simply do not want to hear. Sometimes proving your superiority destroys your relationships. Yep, sometimes being right just isn't enough. Winning some petty argument on the internet or dunking on someone in a corporate meeting might feel great for your ego in that exact moment, but it quietly, permanently closes doors of opportunity behind the scenes. Arrogance creates enemies incredibly fast. Often, silence is far more powerful than showing everyone exactly how capable you are. Section 5. Mastering the Room, the Final Strategy. So the very next time you walk into a room, I want you to stop trying to prove yourself immediately. Just stop. Instead, run through a quick mental checklist. Ask yourself, who truly holds the power in here? Who seems to feel insecure about their position? Who desperately needs to feel respected? And who reacts emotionally to challenges? If you can read people and truly understand their emotions, you are wielding emotional intelligence as a literal superpower. Always remember this. Sometimes the absolute smartest move you can make is letting your power grow quietly until nobody can stop it. Raw talent, paired without emotional intelligence, is just a fast track to self-destruction. The people who truly understand human psychology, the ones who pace themselves and carefully manage the egos around them, are the ones who end up controlling the room long before anyone else even notices what happened. Restraining your talent isn't a lesson in weakness. It's a masterclass in human nature. So I'll leave you with this final thought. As you step into your next big opportunity, ask yourself, are you playing to satisfy your own ego today, or are you quietly building the power to run the room tomorrow? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep learning.